What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 207 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. And today, I'm excited about this topic, Chris. This is going to be a lot of fun. We talk a lot about selling on Amazon, a lot of the internal things we want to get done on Amazon, but we've also been talking a lot recently about driving traffic to your D2C site, sending off Amazon traffic to Amazon, to your D2C, what that looks like. But today we're going to talk about what is creator-driven commerce. So I'm excited to learn about that. I'm excited to learn what that is. We're going to go down a lot of different rabbit holes, I feel like. So today joining us is Rishabh Jain, the CEO of Fermat Commerce. What's up, Rishabh? How are you?
I'm great. How's it going with you guys?
Going well. Where are you located?
I'm in San Francisco right now. And luckily today it's actually nice and sunny outside before 1 o'clock, which means the fog burned off nice and quick. So that's all that we can hope for over here.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it's beautiful there.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful city. So yeah, we're jealous. Let's put it that way. It's beautiful.
What about you guys? Where are you located?
We are in Kansas City, right in the middle. So yeah, it's actually not too bad of a day here. A little chilly. To be expected for early spring. You never. It's either going to be cold or blazing hot. So you get one or the other. You don't get beautiful days every day like you get in San Francisco. That's for sure. But thanks for joining us to talk about a whole bunch of different things. We're excited to learn. This is it's not something we spend all of our time talking about, but it's super important. You want to create as many channels as you can for your e-commerce brand. One thing that we always hear, a lot of people like Chris and myself, we started as Amazon sellers. That Amazon was the platform that launched our product, and in some ways we still consider ourselves Amazon sellers. But a lot of people out there need to start reframing their mindset. They own and manage a brand, and Amazon is a channel that they sell through, and there's many channels that they can sell their products on. And the successful e-commerce companies are doing that. They're diversifying that. So we'll talk about a lot of those different things, but I think we want to give you the floor for a second because I want to give you a chance to just go over a little bit of your background, how you got into this space, what Fermat's doing for your clients, what are your services, what are your sweet spots. So take it away. Let's hear about you and your company.
Yeah, sure. So I come from like most people who are in e-commerce or in ad tech. I'm not sure that a lot of people sort of start in that world. I think you sort of like find your way into it, right? So I actually started off being a physicist. So I got my PhD in solid state physics, and then I like met this guy at a career fair who's like, hey, you should like really come and work at this company, which was called LiveRamp, and it was an ad tech company. And so I sort of made my way from being a physicist into the world of ad tech. And then that's how I sort of really started to learn and understand more about advertising and e-commerce. And while I was there, the major thing that we were really paying a lot of attention to was customer acquisition, right? So the main thing that the company LiveRamp did was basically stitch together digital identity. The long and short of it is, when you're online and you're trying to figure out, hey, who is this person who bought in my store, and how do I find that same person in the online world? That was like the type of service that's offered. And as various changes were happening in the ecosystem, it became really clear that customer acquisition was going to get harder and harder and harder. And I mean, I think the unfortunate sort of impact to a number of D2C brands over the last quarter or two, where we saw like stock prices of like Wish like really get hit, and a number of other D2C brands really get hit, and then Shopify itself, unfortunately, we're starting to see just how important it is to like really think about your customer acquisition strategy and who owns your customer and how you actually have a conversation with your customer. And so that was sort of like the initial idea where I was like, hey, there's something here that there's a conversation that needs to be had with a customer that is not being had today. And then from a different perspective, I started to see actually creators are having conversations with people all the time. Like that's like what they do with 100% of their time. and the question basically kind of naturally emerges, which is, why is it that these two things are not brought together in a more effective way? Why is it the case that today I am going to a creator site, they're talking about something, and then I link out and then I go to a separate website where I transact, or I go to a creator's blog and it's a bunch of links that usually direct me to Amazon, right? As an example. And so the question was just like, there's something in this ecosystem that needs to be unearthed. And that's what led to the idea for Fermat Commerce, where we're enabling brands to directly sell in the creator's content. So when you're seeing a product, you have an immersive shopping experience with that creator at that moment in time.
Okay. This is piquing my interest because we wanted to go into this. Really, we didn't know a whole lot about what you're offering. This is such a huge topic in like our side of the industry, where we're selling a huge part of our business is on Amazon. We're already doing a lot of like influencer type strategies to drive traffic to Amazon. It's really good in like product launch phase when you're trying to get a lot of initial sales, get your sales velocity up. But the one thing that you're giving up when you sell on Amazon is you 100% do not own the customer. You don't have their information. You've got you can communicate, but it is super restricted. There can be no offers, none of this. So there's always this game that everyone's trying to play. How do I, if my goal is to get my customer off of Amazon onto my D2C where I can own them more, I guess would be a good word to use. And then you're exactly right with it talks about influencers. You got a racetrack next to you?
Every now and again, people in San Francisco think it's a great idea to ride very loud motorcycles or very loud cars. And I gotta say, like, for a city like San Francisco, if you're gonna ride, like, let's just say it's a Ferrari, okay? Like, let's take an extreme example, okay? Like, loud car, nice car. Of all the cities where you could drive a Ferrari, why pick one that has hills all over the place and will just bang up the underside of your car? And so when people do this kind of stuff, it is incredibly irritating. I mean, just like incredibly irritating on so many dimensions. Don't get me started, man. Don't get me started.
All right. Whoever that guy was, he's obviously very cool. If he can go that fast. Yeah. It's like every movie you see, you got this people driving like their cars are flying through the air over the hills in San Francisco. That's hilarious. Well, that was entertaining. Well, let's get back to now all I can think about is that guy driving down the road. But anyway, so yeah, it's a big topic in our space, and with this push towards I'm doing this currently. I know Chris is doing it currently. Working on gathering a sphere of influencers to create awareness and drive traffic, to wherever you're trying to sell your product. But this concept, explain a little bit more about how you're facilitating this, where you're able to, what is it like? I could be watching TikTok and watching a content creator on TikTok and then have the ability to buy, or on Instagram or any of those places.
Yeah. So there's like two really interesting ideas or questions that I think I'm hearing. The first one actually is what you talked about a little bit earlier, where a lot of times people do creator content at product launches. And if you sort of like take a step back and you ask yourself like, hey, why is it that we're doing sort of this creator work at product launch in particular? Like, why is it such a great moment to do that? It's because when you're introducing a new product, you don't already have a pre-existing audience for that product because it's new, right? So by definition, there's no pre-existing audience. And so it's like, okay, I'm gonna go join the conversation where the conversation is already happening. So it's like, okay, let's just say it's a new pan, right? Who are the types of people who are already talking about pans, and how do I join that conversation in order for people to learn about my product, right? That's like an incredibly sort of obvious way of framing it, where it's like, okay, if I'm introducing something new, I need to go to the place where the conversation is already happening in order to really accelerate demand on the product launch. And so that's like the first thing that I think a lot of people sort of they just assume it's like a thing to do, and a lot of people don't necessarily take the step back to ask themselves, hey, why is it that this is actually a recommended practice? It's because you're joining a conversation where the conversation is already existing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the first sort of thing that I think is like super important to realize is my goal here is to participate. And then underneath that is absolutely what you were saying in the actual sort of like meat of the question, which is how do you actually drive the transaction once the intent occurs, right? So now let's say I, as a brand, I'm participating alongside this creator in the conversation that they're having with their audience. You're piggybacking off of the creator's trust with their audience. So really what you want in an ideal world is you want the creator to describe on the brand's behalf why this product is incredible, and for that to be authentic, right? So like the creator has tried the product, they understand it, they understand why it's great for them, and they understand why it's great for their audience. If that's already true, then the thing that you want to give to the customer, the end customer, is the ability to purchase it in that moment when the trust is high with the creator and the intent is there because the creator has already answered all of the questions that an average customer would have. And so then that's where you want to say, hey, sure, if you say buy now, you're automatically pushed into a checkout experience that is native to the content that you were just experiencing. So it could be a TikTok video, it could be a blog article, it could be a link from an Instagram story, right? I mean, the ways in which these conversations are happening is sort of secondary to the idea that you just want it to be native and immersive to whatever the content is. And so the goal of the platform needs to be, how do I make it native? And how do I stay true to what it is that the creator is doing in terms of the conversation with the audience? Because that's the part that actually needs to be answered in the transaction flow, not sort of the standard product description page, especially for a new product, because nobody knows what it is anyway, right?
Oh, man.
So I'm trying to think about the process as a seller. Do we control where they end up checking out from?
Yeah.
So like if I'm a brand and I'm working with the creator, do I provide the link to process the checkout?
Exactly right. Exactly right. So basically, I mean, one of the really great things about Shopify is that you can make very deep integrations. So you can actually write an order directly to your D2C site that is on the front end embedded within the content. So I'll give you an example. Let's just say you're like reading a blog article again about a new pan, right? And then within that, you're getting all the information that you need to have. And then there's like a checkout experience directly within the blog article. Then what you do is every part of that checkout process is a direct write to your Shopify API system. And it's exactly like you said, it's powered entirely by the brand. So the product information pulled from the brand's direct e-commerce backend, pricing pulled from the backend. Any sort of discount codes that you want to apply, you can pull directly from the backend, so then the consumer doesn't actually have to enter a code separately. You can basically automate all of it to give like a really smooth checkout flow.
Does this work? Instead of driving it to Shopify, can I drive them to an Amazon landing page?
So today, Amazon controls every part of the checkout flow, right? Where Amazon wants you to go through their flow on their site. Shopify is more asking the question, how do we power your backend? And you can have how many ever channels you want, right? But Amazon wants to be the channel of choice. So today you cannot do this with Amazon, although I'm a betting man. And if you ask me, like, do I think that Amazon will make this capability available in the next 12 months? I would bet that the answer is yes.
So really you're able to make the transaction easy for the customer who's already right there, living in whatever content they're watching or reading, and then it's an easy transaction. But since it's through your Shopify, you're gathering all the customer data, the information. You're able to capture everything, that whatever you want to capture. This is interesting. What in these products that you're seeing that are going through this, what impact are you seeing? Like if you had an influencer or your whatever the medium is that you're having this conversation, you're in front of your audience, as opposed to just direct linking to whatever platform it is. Like you could just put your Shopify store there or direct link to the product. What impact is it by keeping it native for them? Is it a ton easier? Is there a much higher conversion rate? What are you seeing?
So this is like super interesting. So the first thing is, let's just say today you have a social post on Instagram and you do the link out to the D2C site, right? The average ad on Instagram has like a 1%, like between 0.9 and 1% click out rate. So it's like somewhere between, it's like order of 1% of the people who see it will actually click through and go to the D2C site. When you do creator-based commerce, you tend to see anywhere between 3 and 5x that rate, okay, just to go to the creator's content. And within that, when you're talking about, hey, what is the likelihood that somebody will actually start a cart fill on, which is basically like the key step, right? It's like, okay, I'm looking at products or I'm reading content. Which one of the two is likely to initiate a cart fill? The cart fill rate of like a standard product is like 4%, okay, on like a standard D2C site. In content, what we're seeing already is it's anywhere between 7 and 20%. Okay, so these are like not small differences. This is like, and I think the thing that's like underestimated a lot is that when you actually capture somebody at the point of like high intention and in content, it really increases the conversion rate. The most interesting part about this is that Amazon knows this too. That's like the most interesting part about this. Like we're talking about this as if it's like largely off Amazon thing, but I mean Amazon is like the most data-driven company on the planet, right? And like they see this. So like if you go to a standard Amazon product, this is like one of the most fascinating things I've heard recently. The amount of copy for a standard Amazon product is always significantly more than the amount of copy for other products. So like a Kindle, if you do a word count on the Kindle product description page, it's like 3,000 words. Okay. It's like, you would think to yourself, like, who's sitting around like reading all of this content? Guess what? Amazon knows that people create intent to purchase when there is content. And the higher the quality of the content and the more useful it is in the context of the interaction, the more likely it is to convert.
Yes, interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is something we, from our end, we do this all the time. It's a game we play when we're creating our listings. Is you have so many characters you could put in each field, so many images, and you're trying to maximize all of that, and you're trying to frame it in a way where it hits two masters. It hits Amazon's algorithm so that you're indexed for all the right things, but worded in a way that hits the emotion and the intent of the buyer to help seal the deal on that sale. But more powerful than an Amazon listing is 100% a well-known influencer who has an audience who just says simply, this is a great product.
Do you guys know Mr. Beast?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you guess is the total number of Mr. Beast burgers that were sold, like the GMV of Mr. Beast burgers that were sold in the first 15 months? Do you guys already know this?
I heard this. I listened to him on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh, you heard this? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, but it was absurd. I can't remember the number, but it was a lot, millions and millions. I don't even know what. Do you know the number off the top of your head?
I do. Chris, do you want to take just like a wild guess on like the number of the GMV?
I know this guy's really popular. 15 mil?
Over 100 million in 15 months of burgers sold.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. You know what's even, we're off topic, but this was fascinating. I mean, he owns no restaurants. He owns no burgers. He literally licensed his name out and it was like, I forget what he called it, but it was amazing. it was like virtual restaurants, because he was just piggybacking off of all the other restaurants, and they just added his burger to the menu. He sends them the recipe basically, and he was just restaurants were sold out, packed. They were doing crazy things when he launched.
He didn't give them the recipe. He just gave them his face.
Yeah,
there was this is like the thing I think that's like, it's like so incredibly underestimated, just like how powerful you can convert and create intent with creators. Like, I'll just give you a few other like random stats that are just like shocking. In the first year of operation, Terramana Tequila, like the Rocks Tequila, sold $140 million of tequila. Okay, that is the fastest sales of any product, period. Okay, and it's just by a long shot. And then there are medium-sized influencers. So when I was like first starting this business, there was this woman who has like order 50,000 followers. Okay, so like medium-sized influencer. She was working with like a home goods company, and she drove over $2 million worth of sales for a home goods company in 3 months, because just of the quality of content and the authenticity of that content. And so it's like, these things are happening at all sorts of scales and sizes of company types and creator types. And it's like truly underestimated what the impact is going to be, because we're like, people always forget that we're in the early innings of e-commerce. It's like, what, 18% of commerce happens online, right? And so people are like really dramatically underestimating where we're going.
Okay, now you got my wheels spinning a little bit. So 99% of the sales, let's just say for a seller, are done on Amazon's platform. But there's a good chance they already have a Shopify store, but they're just not monetizing it. It just sits there just to kind of like have products there in case somebody comes to their site, checks out their products, wants to learn a little bit more about the brand. Maybe they buy, maybe you get one order a month. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking if I was going to use this tool, use your tool, I would just say, hey, I don't care. You guys can just make content all you want. I'll pick the creator. I'll pay you a revenue share, but you're going to just drive that traffic back to my Shopify store, and the transaction is going to happen directly on my Shopify store. What upfront cost do I have to pay to get that? Am I just sharing just the revenue of whatever they bring over, or do I have to give an upfront fee to kind of get this moving? What am I out when I first start this?
Yeah, so this is a really good question. So generally speaking, this is like any other like content creation endeavor, right? So if you think about like your customer acquisition strategy as like two things, one is like paid media, so like standard ads, and then the other one is content. It's like both sides have like an outlay, right? So it's like paid media has an outlay and then content has an outlay. And so this is like exactly the same as that, right? It's just that it happens to be that we use this word creator to describe the people who are creating the content. So there's, depending on the type of person that you're working with, there's tends to be like an initial fee that you pay them for actually the content development. And again, depending on the agreement that you have with them, there could be a rev share, there could not be a rev share. But the key thing is that once you develop that content with that creator, you generally also ask for rights for that content, and then you reuse that content as basically part of your content strategy for continuing to boost your ability to drive people both organically and inorganically, right? Like one of the most like standard loops that people do is like, let's just say you get featured in, I don't know, some sort of like media. So let's use Wirecutter as an example, right? If you get featured in Wirecutter, like what does the company that get featured in Wirecutter do? They buy like an incredible amount of ads against the Wirecutter article, even if it then drives the person to Amazon, right? And the reason they do that is because it's way higher converting to drive people to Wirecutter and then to Amazon rather than run a standard ad for your Amazon listing, right? This works exactly the same way. except you sometimes get like even higher alpha than running it against like a Wirecutter article, because it's like another person. And so when people are like seeing another person's point of view, you end up getting like very, very high intent, basically. So that's how you like run the cycle.
Okay, let's walk this through, because this is actually super intriguing. I want to sort of so I'm ready to set this up. Okay, as a brand, I've got my influencers that are content creators that I'm working with. I've got, let's just take it out. We got a couple different things. I got featured in a blog, my product. That's great. I've got a Instagram content creator who's posting, maybe doing reels and doing other things about my product. And then I've got someone on TikTok who's got a great community posting about my product. So now I want to put this step in, because I no longer want them just to offer a link or whatever to wherever it goes. I don't want to get them lost in the ether somewhere where I lose out on that sale. I want to capture them in that native space. What does the setup for me look like? So I'm working with you guys. I'm working with your software. What do I need to do to create that native shopping experience in all those 3 different areas?
So, I mean, the business workflow is really the most sort of important part is the agreement between the brand and the creator. So that's like the single most important thing, is making sure you find people, like we were talking about earlier, where you can join their conversation that they're already having with their audience, and it'll by definition be a really good fit. And therefore the way they communicate about your product is going to be very high intent. And so that's the most important step, is just like finding great creators with whom you can form a great partnership. And then, like what Chris was asking, negotiate a good set of economics that actually makes sense for both you and the creator. Once you do that part, the rest of it is really easy, because creators, I mean, what do they do for a living? They create content. So they're going to create amazing content. That part is like easy for them, right? So that part is easy. The part that the brand does really well is like support and fulfill actual demand for the product, right? So that part is easy. And then all you need to do is sort of embed the experience, which is like connecting to our software as an example. And that part is like really easy because of the way that Shopify sets up their app ecosystem. It's like under 3 minutes of work for both the creator and the brand to like set up the integration and then go live with the shopping experience. So like really the work is all in the partnership between the brand and the creator. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's also where all the magic happens, right? Because that's where you get, that's where you get Mr. Beast burgers. That's where you get Feastables. That's where you get Terramana tequila. That's where you get Air Jordan. That's where, that's where the magic happens. And then sort of what like everybody else's job is just supporting that magic to happen. So
are these creators applying to work with us, or do we have to go out and ask them and like interview them if they want to work with our brand, or are they coming to us first?
It happened. I've seen it happen in every way. So there's like brands that will like hire agencies to go find good creators for them. So a lot of my like brand owner friends, what they will do is they will actually just pay an agency to go find good fit creators. Another thing that you could do is, I don't know if you guys know any of these softwares like Grin and Upfluence and things like this. So there's like, you pay like a couple $1,000 a month, and that's like a great way to sort of like source influencers. Some products have the inverse, where it's like creators seek out partnerships with that product because it's just like an amazing product, right? And people like seek to partner with that product. That's rarer, to be totally candid with you. It's more often the case that brands are seeking out creators because creators are the scarce supply, right? So there's like finite of them who are really good and finite time with which they can actually create output. So it tends to be the case that it's more brands seeking out creators than it is creators seeking out brands.
Now, from the customer's perspective, what does their journey look like? So they're watching this content. They're watching maybe I'm live with a content creator or whatever we're doing. Let's say it's in TikTok. They're watching something on TikTok. Okay, what are they seeing? Is there something that like pops up that says buy now, or what? How does that look?
Yeah, so when you look at TikTok, you know how first of all, standard TikToks don't have link outs, so it would have to be run as an ad. But
Okay.
when you see like a standard ad on TikTok, it's like the video starts to play and then there's like a little button that says like shop now. And today what that does is it like redirects you to the product description page of the brand. Instead, what would happen is when you click that button, you would see a purchase flow that actually has the creator and the brand together in that purchase flow, which is exactly the same as what you were just watching. So basically it's like, okay, let's just pretend that it's like me and I'm like, I'm talking about like some sort of like men grooming thing, right? Then when you hit shop now, then it would be like me talking, it would still be me with the men grooming product. So it's fully native to the content that you were just watching. And so the checkout flow itself is actually the thing that is really important to get right in order to feel like, hey, I was in content, I'm still in content, that I'm purchasing this thing. And then I finish the transaction, and then whoever is actually selling the product, so let's just pretend it's Gillette, fulfills the order.
And the same thing would happen if I'm reading a blog and there's a call to action on the blog. I'm now in something that looks like the blog still, or it has the people that the writer of the blog and the product. So it's not like you're just thrown out into some marketplace where you can now buy this. It looks like you're being walked through the purchase process with the content creator and the product or the brand. Interesting. Now, so that just takes minimal input from the content creator and the brand to create those native looking? Because I'm assuming you're not in TikTok anymore. You've now linked out, but it looks like it. It looks like you're still in the same flow.
This is like the key thing is all that matters is what does the consumer feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like a consumer could care less whether it's like TikTok serving it or a site serving it or us serving it the consumer like truly does not care, right? The consumer is like, hey, here's what I would like to do. What is the easiest way to do it? And so, yeah, it's like, it's exactly what you said, which is, hey, you're reading an article. How do I actually create a like form fill experience? Because like I still have to collect their information in order to finish this transaction. How do I do that in a way in which is like reminds them that they are in content? And how do I do that with very little lift from the brand and the creator? And so the way that we do that is like the creator is anyways already has the product. They're already making images with the product. They're already making videos with the product. And so we're just pulling from that content that they're already otherwise creating and pulling that into the actual checkout flow experience. So it's like, imagine today you see like a picture on Instagram with a creator with the product, right? When you then go to the checkout page, like where did that picture go? It's as if like, oh, that picture was like an Instagram thing. Now you're in the e-commerce site. Like, no, let's not worry about that Instagram thing. Let's worry about like an image from the front and an image from the side and an image from the back, which is like important, but why not also include the creator images, right? It's like, oh yeah, this is how that person was using it. This is why I wanted to use it, and like humanize the checkout experience.
This is very interesting. We were just at Prosper with I don't know if you're
yeah, we were there too. Yeah.
Oh, you were? Oh, how do we not? Oh, we should have met up there. But one of the speakers was talking about a creative product launch strategy. Are you in an
Where's
airport?
that guy?
Is that the same guy, or is he just he got an airplane this time and he wanted to go? He parked his Lamborghini at the private jet. Yeah. So we were at Prosper, and one of the speakers was talking about co-developing new products with content creators, and making that a relationship, because you could instantly launch to their entire audience. It could be branded in their name or whatever. You're bringing them the ability to create products because that's what we can do. But then you're piggybacking off of their visibility and their community their tribe that they've built. Boy, this seems like this would just merge seamlessly with something like that.
So this is actually, yeah, I mean, first of all, that's like one of the best use cases for something like this. So early on in the company's life, I had a conversation with like one of the top 3 shoe companies, right? So, I mean, you can imagine which one it is, but basically they work with a bunch of athletes, right? And actors and singers and, right? And it's like, okay, they're doing all of these collab shoes, right? So let's just make up an example. So let's just say it's like Air Jordan is like about to happen, right? It has not yet happened. And so if you're Nike and you're partnering with Jordan, you really want to be able to capture Jordan's audience wherever they follow him on the internet, right? Like now Jordan, of course, was effectively pre-internet. I mean, not exactly, but effectively so you want to capture people wherever his fans are. And yeah, today they really don't have a good way of doing that. And so that's like one of the top use cases. And early on was like, okay, there's like something magical that we can do here. But what's even more interesting, so like let's follow that thread a little bit. Today, the way that you do a partnership with a creator is you actually sort of take their image or take their style and you put it onto your product, right? But why can't you just do that type of collaboration digitally? So like right now, let's just make up an example. Let's just say that there's like a creator. Let's just use Mr. Beast's example, right? So Mr. Beast has like Feastables chocolate, but in reality, there's like many other steps along an e-commerce journey where you could use Mr. Beast's digital goods in order to continue to engage your customer, right? So let's just use like a really simple example. Let's just pretend it's like, okay, what happens after you check out? It's like the most like boring thing in the world. You get like order confirmation and like, here's how you track your shipment, right? I mean, this is like, there's a lot of companies who are thinking about the post-checkout experience, thank God. but it's like, this is like, I mean, what a great point of real estate to reintroduce the creator and make it fun again, right?
That's so interesting. You're right. That order confirmation is boring. But if that order confirmation came with like Mr. Beast talking to me in a video about what I just purchased or something of that nature, where it's, I mean, you could go down a lot of different avenues with this.
What about when you get the product? Like, how do you use it? How do you do that today? You read a manual. I mean, like, yeah, the landscape of opportunity here, like I know people always say this, like we're early, we're squarely early.
Yeah, this is early for sure. But people who jump on this now are forward thinking like this. There is so much opportunity to create not only a brand, not only create a lot more customers and owning their data, but to create like a tribe around you and around your content creator, where it's like they wouldn't think of going anywhere else to get products. It's like, because there's something about when it's the content that you go to because it's the content that you enjoy, it's about the topic that you enjoy, it's with the people that you enjoy, and now there's a product attached to it and they're helping you use the product better. I always use fitness as an example because that was one of my early brands that I started, was a fitness brand, and that just lends itself perfectly to trainers who want to, teach you and do videos on how to run your course. But you get that community where you're just like, well, what next can I get from you guys? What next can I get? How can you just fill it out? There's opportunity big time there. This is fascinating, Rishabh. We'd like to do, we'd love to schedule to get you back with us, because this is going to evolve for sure. This space, it's going to get more intriguing. More people are going to jump in. They're going to find out new methods for doing this. But this is fascinating. But I do know that there is a lot of people listening right now, and they're like, okay, I'm already working with some influencers or some content creators. I've written a bunch of blogs out there. This seems like I need to integrate this piece. How do they get started working with you?
Okay, I promise I'll answer your question, but you said something that I've got to like double click on. You said I'm already working with a bunch of influencers and I've already started writing some blogs. Okay, I'll tell you this story. There was a brand head of growth that I was talking to, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks ago. And he says to me, hey man, we really want to use this product on our own content. And I was like, okay, that sounds fine. I didn't expect that. Why would you want to use it on your own content? And he says, actually, our content drives such high engagement that it gets over twice the visit rate than our normal website. So it's like www.brand.com gets less than half the traffic as www.brand.com/blog article, which is unbelievable, right? So when you think about, I mean, like the thing that just keeps happening over and over again now that I'm like in this space, and I'm sure there's like tons of confirmation bias going on as well. But the thing that I keep seeing over and over again is content is the thing that people care about. And yes, the way that they act on what they care about is by purchasing a good. But if you don't have a content strategy, then you're really missing out on a lot of very high intent buying opportunities. So yeah, I think that the easiest way to get started is I love talking to people about any and all of these topics. If they want to actually get started with our product, that's wonderful. We we are actually, unfortunately, quite a bit backlogged at this point. So like the earliest that anybody would actually be able to work with us is probably June. But please reach out to Rishabh at fermatcommerce.com and we will do our best. But I absolutely love sort of sharing ideas around how do you get started in creator commerce, what are some initial best practices, and how to use content to drive a lot of intent. Really happy to do that.
I love it. Well, anybody can reach out to you that's listening right now. Get on the waiting list, I guess, to see if you can get in to work with you. But fascinating topic. I mean, this is really interesting to me. I think this is where everything is going. It's going to be creator commerce. That's what's going to happen. I mean, we're already seeing it. I mean, obviously, Mr. Beast is doing a lot of it crazy. And people see those numbers, they're like, okay, I think he's on to something. And he's so young. He's so young. It's amazing. That's what gets me too. Yeah. But it's crazy. Well, Rishabh, thanks for joining us. Great conversation. We will definitely have you back on. There's gonna be a lot of other things. I'm sure we just scratched the surface in this conversation of what we can do, but it should get everybody thinking in a little bit of a different direction for sure on ways that they can drive sales for their brand. But it's like driving sales plus engagement and brand loyalty and all those things that we're talking about. So really fascinating. Thanks for joining us so much. Thanks to everybody for tuning in today. If you like content like this, if you want to hear new ideas, what's coming in the space, tactics and strategies for all of e-commerce selling, make sure you're subscribing to our podcast. It's on every podcast platform out there. You can also see our live streams on Solozo's social media channels. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, they're all there. So you can see all these episodes as live streams. And additionally, you're an ad tech company, Rishabh, and so is Solozo. Solozo's on the ad tech side for Amazon sellers. We help fully optimize and automate your advertising on Amazon. No matter what else you're doing, that is a critical component. You've got to own that space and drive as much traffic as you can. A lot of sales start on Amazon, so you want to capture those and drive them. We can help you out. Go to Solozo.com. You can book a demo. You'll talk with either Chris or myself, and we'll talk all about the Solozo platform and how it can help you optimize and automate your Amazon advertising. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks, Rishabh, for joining us.